I stepped onto the stage to receive my award when his hand struck my face, the crack echoing through the microphone. 9 cameras from local news stations, security systems, to audience phones simultaneously captured everything. No one knew I'd been setting this trap for 3 weeks with my lawyer, an emergency restraining order tucked in my pocket. As blood trickled down my chin, I turned my head at the perfect angle for camera number 4. Tonight wasn't just an award ceremony. It was the legal execution of the man who'd stolen my home. My name is Harper Lane, and I've spent the last 5 years analyzing risk at Northbridge Credit Union in downtown Denver. Numbers don't lie, that's what drew me to this job. Spreadsheets, probability models, collateral assessments. They all follow rules. Unlike people. I was deep in a commercial loan review when my phone buzzed at 2:43 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon that would upend everything I thought I'd secured. Harper. My mother's voice trembled through the speaker. Grandpa passed this morning. The memorial is Saturday. You need to come home. Home. The word sat heavy in my throat. I hadn't set foot in the house on Juniper Ridge for 18 months. Not since Bruce's last drunken tirade about how I thought I was too good for them with my college degree and downtown job. The 3-hour drive from Denver to Lakewood gave me too much time to think. That house, 1310 Juniper Ridge, had been in our family since I was 12. When Dad died of a heart attack in 2016, Mom nearly lost it to foreclosure. I'd co-signed the refinance to save it, using my fresh credit score and newly minted finance degree as collateral for her future. The mortgage documents still sat in my fireproof safe. That critical clause highlighted in yellow, no transfer of ownership or additional liens without written consent of all parties. Bruce answered the door before I could knock. The smell hit first bourbon, stale cigarettes, and something else. Something like defeat turned sour. His bloodshot eyes narrowed as he blocked the doorway with his body. Well, look who decided to grace us with her presence. He didn't move aside. This is my house now. I shouldered past him without acknowledging the provocation. The living room looked wrong. Dad's leather recliner was gone, replaced by a gaudy massage chair with cup holders. The family photos had vanished from the mantel. My mother sat hunched on the couch, looking smaller than I remembered. Where's my room? I asked after embracing her. Oh, honey, Bruce needed storage space for his projects. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I climbed the stairs, each step revealing another change. My bedroom door stood open, revealing stacks of boxes, old casino promotional materials, and what looked like pawned electronics with price tags still attached. My childhood desk, where I'd studied for the CPA exam, had been shoved against the wall, scarred with water rings and burn marks. I pulled out my phone and began documenting photos with timestamps, a voice memo describing the scene. That's when the email notification popped up. From Northbridge Credit Union Fraud Detection Subject. Urgent suspicious activity on linked account. My blood chilled as I opened it. A home equity line of credit had been opened against the Juniper Ridge property 11 months ago. Current balance $47,000. The signature on the digital documents Harper Lane. But I'd never signed anything. I screenshot the email, then opened my banking app to trace the HELOC disbursements. Cash advances at Blackhawk casinos. Wire transfers to something called Rocky Mountain Entertainment Services. A pattern emerged in the transactions. Every withdrawal coincided with dates I'd been traveling for work, establishing my alibi through airplane tickets and hotel receipts. Standing in what used to be my sanctuary, surrounded by the detritus of Bruce's schemes, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about money or property. He'd stolen my identity, perverted my signature, turned my act of love for my mother into his personal ATM. And from the casual cruelty of his greeting, he thought he'd gotten away with it. I pulled up my voice recorder again, speaking in the calm, measured tone I used for risk assessments. January 16th, 3:21 p.m. Initial discovery of potential identity theft and mortgage fraud. Beginning evidence collection and documentation process. Downstairs, I heard Bruce's slurred laugh at something on TV. He had no idea what he'd just started. In my world, the world of contracts and clauses, documentation and due diligence he'd already lost. He just didn't know it yet. That night, I waited until Bruce passed out in his massage chair, the TV blaring some late-night poker tournament. At 11:47 p.m., I slipped into the spare bedroom he'd converted into his office, a generous term for a disaster zone of betting slips and empty bottles. My phone flashlight swept across the chaos until I found it a metal filing cabinet, locked but poorly maintained. The lock yielded to a bobby pin and 30 seconds of patience, skills learned from YouTube rather than any criminal inclination. Inside lay Bruce's financial DNA, pawn shop receipts for items I recognized Dad's watch, Grandma's pearl necklace, the silver tea set from Mom's parents' 50th anniversary, each receipt meticulously dated, creating a timeline of desperation. I photographed every page, the camera's silent click marking each piece of evidence. The second drawer revealed worse handwritten IOUs to someone named Tommy Knuckles, with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. Casino loyalty cards from Black Hawk, Central City, and Cripple Creek, each showing platinum status, the kind you only get from serious, sustained losses. And there, between two racing forms, a practice sheet where he'd traced my signature over and over, the evolution from clumsy forgery to passable imitation documented in his own hand. I texted Miles Whitaker at 6:15 a.m. the next morning. I'd researched him extensively, 15 years of civil litigation, specialized in property fraud and financial crimes. A bulldog reputation that made insurance companies settle rather than fight. His response came within minutes. "Can you meet at 7:30? Bring everything." His office occupied the 20th floor of a glass tower in downtown Denver, the kind of place that whispered old money and guaranteed wins. Whitaker himself looked like a legal weapon, silver-haired, sharp-suited, with eyes that had seen every scam and scheme Colorado could produce. I spread my evidence across his conference table like a dealer laying out cards. He examined each document with the focus of a surgeon, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. When he reached the practice signatures, his lips tightened into something that wasn't quite a smile. "The 2016 mortgage modification, you have the original?" he asked. I pulled it from my folder. The key clause already highlighted. "No transfer or additional encumbrance without written consent of all parties." He read aloud. "And you never consented to this HELOC?" "Never. I was in Austin for a conference when it was supposedly signed. I have flight records, hotel receipts, conference registration." Whitaker leaned back, fingers steepled. "We have forgery, wire fraud, identity theft, and violation of the mortgage terms. But here's the strategic question. Do you want him prosecuted or just removed?" "I want the house protected and my credit restored. Everything else is negotiable." "Smart." "Criminal prosecution takes time, and your mother might become collateral damage. But we can file for an immediate injunction, freeze the HELOC, and petition for emergency financial conservatorship given the evidence of gambling addiction and fraud." He pulled out a fresh pad. "We'll also need to document any threats or violence. Colorado's domestic violence statutes include financial abuse now." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from Bruce. "Where the fuck are you? Your mother's crying because you upset her last night. Get back here now, or I'll throw your shit on the lawn." I showed Whitaker the message. He photographed it with his own phone. "Save everything," he said. "Texts, voicemails, emails. Start a journal documenting dates, times, witnesses. If he's escalated to threats via text, he'll escalate in person. When he does, we need it documented." That afternoon, I created what I called the Bruce File, a cloud-backed folder with subfolders for financial crimes, threats, property damage, and a special section labeled Pattern of Abuse. I added the bruise on Mom's wrist I'd photographed when she wasn't looking, the hole in the hallway wall poorly concealed with a calendar, the empty prescription bottles in her name that I'd found in Bruce's drawer. When I returned to the house that evening, Bruce grabbed my wrist as I passed his chair, squeezing until the bones ground together. "You think you're smart, don't you? Snooping around, taking pictures like some kind of spy." I kept my voice level, clinical. "Let go of my wrist. Bruce. Or what you'll tell Mommy. He released me with a shove. I went straight to the bathroom, photographed the red marks already forming on my wrist, and added them to the file with a timestamp and description. Evidence. Always evidence. Mom found me there, applying concealer to hide the marks. "He's just stressed about money," she whispered. I met her eyes in the mirror. Stressed people don't forge signatures. Mom, criminals do. Whitaker moved fast. Within 72 hours, we had filed for a temporary restraining order, citing financial abuse and physical intimidation. The motion to freeze assets went through simultaneously. Every account Bruce had touched was now locked pending investigation. But the real chess move came when Whitaker suggested something I hadn't considered. "You need witnesses with authority," he said during our strategy session. "Not just documentation, but people who can act immediately when he escalates." That's how I found myself in the office of Chief Carla Ruiz at the Lakewood Police Department on a gray Thursday morning. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with the kind of eyes that had seen enough domestic situations to recognize patterns before they fully formed. "Financial abuse escalates," she said, reviewing my file. "When you cut off the money supply, he'll get desperate. You have security cameras at the house." "No, he disconnected them last year, said they were too expensive." "Of course he did." She made a note. "Here's what I can offer: increased patrols past the house, priority response if you call, and—" She paused, studying me. "If you can engineer a situation where his behavior becomes publicly undeniable, we can act more decisively." "What do you mean by publicly undeniable?" "Witnesses, multiple, credible witnesses. Video evidence from sources he can't claim were doctored. The kind of evidence that makes prosecutors salivate and defense attorneys negotiate plea deals." That afternoon, an unexpected email arrived that felt like destiny handing me a loaded weapon. The Colorado Credit Union Association had nominated me for their Young Risk Manager of the Year award. The ceremony would be in 3 weeks at the Paramount Theater, with live coverage on Denver's Channel 9 and streaming online. I called Whitaker immediately. What if I could guarantee Bruce would commit assault in front of hundreds of witnesses and multiple cameras? That's a dangerous game, Harper. I analyze risk for a living. This is calculated. There was a long pause. "If you're serious, we need to choreograph every detail. One wrong move and you're the one who looks like the aggressor." Over the next week, I became a director preparing for opening night. I visited the Paramount Theater under the pretense of familiarizing myself with the venue. The security supervisor, Marcus, walked me through their camera setup: 2 fixed cameras on the stage, 1 roaming camera for crowd shots, 3 security cameras covering the audience and exits. I mapped blind spots, optimal angles, and the exact path from the audience to the stage. "We can have additional security if you're concerned about anything," Marcus offered. "Actually, yes, I have a complicated family situation. Could you document your camera positions for my attorney?" He didn't question it, providing a detailed schematic that Whitaker added to our growing file. I reached out to 3 colleagues who would be attending, explaining obliquely that I might need witnesses for a family matter. Each agreed to record if anything unusual happened. That brought my camera count to 9, a number that would sound impressive in court. The invitation I sent to Mom and Bruce was carefully worded, posted on social media where others could see it. "Would love to have my family there to celebrate this recognition of my hard work." Public, warm, impossible to refuse without looking petty. Bruce took the bait, of course. His ego wouldn't let him miss a chance to claim credit for my success, or, more likely, to remind me publicly that I owed him for keeping a roof over your mother's head. Chief Ruiz and I met once more to finalize details. "We'll have 2 officers in plain clothes in the audience," she confirmed. "But Harper, I need to be clear, we can't intervene preemptively. He has to act first." "I understand. But when he does, we'll be ready. The TRO is already in our system. The moment he violates it with witnesses present, it becomes criminal contempt." I spent hours with a makeup artist friend learning how to apply concealer that would look natural on stage but disappear under harsh lights. revealing any marks underneath. I practiced my acceptance speech, building in pauses where I knew Bruce would likely interject. I even selected my outfit a white blazer that would show blood if necessary. Professional, but not so expensive that I'd mourn its loss. "You're planning this like a bank heist," Mom said when she found my preparation notes. I'd left them out intentionally, wanting her to see how serious this was. "No, Mom, I'm planning it like a risk assessment. Every variable accounted for, every outcome modeled. What if he doesn't take the bait? Then I accept my award and move on with Plan B through F. But he will. You know he will. He can't stand me succeeding without him getting credit or tearing me down." She sank onto my bed, my childhood bed in my converted storage room, and for the first time, I saw her seeing Bruce clearly. "When did you become so calculating?" "The day he forged my signature. He stole my identity. Mom, now I'm going to use his own nature against him. That's not calculation, that's justice." The phone rang at 11:30 p.m. Bruce, drunk, raging about the frozen accounts. "You think you're clever? I'll fucking ruin you at that ceremony. Everyone will know what an ungrateful bitch you are." I had my phone on speaker, recording. "Bruce, you're on speaker. Mom's here." "Good, she should hear this too. You both owe me everything." I said nothing, letting him fill the silence with threats. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of pure, inadmissible gold for our file. When he finally hung up, I backed up the recording to 3 different cloud services. The ceremony was in 6 days. Everything was in place. All that remained was for Bruce to be Bruce. The calls started at 2:14 a.m., 4 nights before the ceremony. My phone lit up with Bruce's number, but I let it ring through to voicemail. The message he left was a masterpiece of drunken rage and self-incrimination. "You fucking think you're untouchable? I'll burn that house down before I let you take it. Your mother won't even have ashes to cry over. Answer your goddamn phone." I saved it, backed it up, and forwarded it to Whitaker with a simple note. "Terroristic threats. Add to file." The next morning, Mom called me from the school library where she worked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Harper, Mr. Davidson wants to see me. Bruce showed up here drunk yesterday, screaming about lawyers and frozen accounts. Security had to escort him out." "Did they file a report?" "Yes, but, Harper, I might lose my job." "Pack a bag. Mom, stay with me tonight." "I can't just leave." "Yes, you can. This is escalating exactly as predicted. Come to my apartment after work." She arrived at my downtown studio at 6:45 p.m., carrying a small overnight bag and 15 years of exhaustion on her face. I'd already set up the pull-out couch and ordered Thai food from her favorite place. While we ate, I laid out documents on my coffee table like tarot cards revealing her future. "This is a financial power of attorney," I explained. "It lets me protect your teacher's pension and retirement accounts. This one separates your credit from his. And this." I placed the last paper carefully. "Is a legal separation filing. You don't have to sign it now. But it's ready." She stared at the papers like they might bite. "When did you become this person? This cold, strategic person?" "I'm not cold, Mom. I'm precise. There's a difference." I pulled up the audio file on my laptop. "Listen to this." Bruce's voice filled my apartment, threats echoing off the exposed brick walls. Mom flinched at each curse, each threat. When it ended, she was crying. "That's who he is when you're not there to buffer his rage," I said. "And in 3 days, he's going to show everyone else." That evening, I sent a carefully crafted email to extended family and key neighbors, CCing Whitaker for legal protection. "Dear friends and family, I want to address some difficulties regarding the house at 1310 Juniper Ridge. Documents have surfaced showing fraudulent use of my identity to secure loans against the property. I've involved law enforcement and legal counsel. If Bruce Dalton contacts you regarding money or makes any threats, please document them and contact Officer Ruiz at Lakewood PD. Your support during this challenging time means everything to Mom and me. The responses were immediate and revealing. 3 neighbors reported Bruce had tried to borrow money from them. A cousin mentioned strange charges on a credit card Bruce had helped him apply for. The pattern was bigger than just our family. Bruce's response came at 11:53 p.m. via text. "You sent that fucking email. You're dead to me. Dead. You show your face at that ceremony and I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of lying cunt you are." I screenshot it, adding to what Whitaker had started calling the Bruce Bible, now nearly 60 pages of documented abuse, fraud, and threats. The next day, Mom's principal called. Bruce had been banned from school property after attempting to enter the building despite yesterday's removal. The security footage showed him pounding on doors, screaming my name. The school resource officer had filed a report. "I'm so sorry, Elaine," Mr. Davidson said over speakerphone. "But we need to know, are you safe?" "She's staying with me," I answered. "We have a restraining order in process and police involvement." "Good. Elaine, take the rest of the week. Paid administrative leave while we sort security protocols." After the call, Mom signed the financial documents with shaking hands. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered. "You're someone who deserves better than this," I replied, notarizing her signature with the stamp I'd brought home from work. 2 days before the ceremony, Whitaker called with news. The judge signed an emergency order. The TRO is active immediately. Bruce has been formally notified he can't come within 500 feet of you. He'll violate it. That's what we're counting on. Chief Ruiz has assigned 4 officers now, not 2. Channel 9 has confirmed they'll have 2 cameras on site. The venue's insurance required them to add an additional security camera after Bruce's name appeared on a police watch list. So we're up to 10 cameras total. At minimum. Harper, I need to say this once more. You don't have to go through with this. We have enough to prosecute without putting yourself at risk. He won't hurt me badly. Not in public. His ego won't let him be seen as the bad guy unless he loses control completely. And when he does, when everyone sees who he really is, Mom will finally be free. The night before the ceremony, I couldn't sleep. At 3:20 a.m., I reviewed my notes one final time. Every angle calculated, every reaction anticipated. Bruce thought he was coming to humiliate me. Instead, he was walking into a courtroom where I was judge, jury, and prosecutor. Mom found me at my dining table at 5 a.m., surrounded by legal documents and surveillance photos. "You look like your father," she said quietly. "He planned everything too. Life insurance, the will, even his funeral arrangements. Said he wanted to take care of us even if something happened. And Bruce used that planning to steal from us." She nodded slowly. "Tomorrow night, what if he really hurts you? Then 10 cameras will capture it, 4 cops will arrest him, and you'll never have to fear him again. That's worth a bloody nose. Don't you think?" She signed the separation papers without another word. The morning of the ceremony, I arrived at the Paramount Theater at 2 p.m., 5 hours before the event. The production coordinator, Janet, greeted me with a clipboard and a warm smile that faltered when she saw the bruise on my wrist I'd deliberately worn short sleeves. "Sound check in 30 minutes, she said, then hesitated. "Is everything all right? Family situation?" "Actually, could you walk me through the camera positions? I have a stalker issue, and my attorney wants documentation." Her demeanor shifted to protective efficiency. "Of course. Let me show you our full setup." The tour was more comprehensive than my initial reconnaissance. 2 broadcast cameras fixed on stage, 1 roaming Steadicam that would follow award recipients from their seats, 3 static security cameras on the audience, 2 more at the exits, and a last-minute addition, a new camera at the back of the hall for wide establishing shots. "That's 10 cameras, I noted, mentally adjusting my plan. "Actually, 11. The fire department requires us to record the backstage area now. Insurance thing? Even better. I chose my mother's seat carefully. Row 7, center section, aisle seat, close enough to appear supportive, far enough that Bruce would have to make a scene to reach the stage. I placed reserved cards on seats for my 3 colleagues at strategic angles left, right. and behind where Bruce would likely position himself. Marcus, the security supervisor, found me adjusting the angle of my podium microphone. "Ms. Lane, we've been briefed about your situation. Chief Ruiz sent over the TRO. If this individual shows up, when he shows up, do you want us to refuse entry?" "No. That would just displace the confrontation. I need this documented, not prevented." He looked uncomfortable but nodded. "We'll have someone shadow him from entry. Subtle, but present." At 4:30 p.m., I met with the Channel 9 team. The producer, Kevin, was running through the show order when I made my request. "Could you keep a camera on me during my walk to the stage? I'm the first award recipient. After the break, people might be distracted." "Sure, we can have camera 2 follow you up. Makes for better television anyway." Active shots, not just static podium speeches. I texted my 3 colleagues, Sarah, James, and Mikhail, with final instructions. "If anything happens during my award, please record. Legal matter. We'll explain later." At 5:45 p.m., Whitaker arrived, taking a seat in the back row with a clear sightline to everything. He texted me, "Judge Brennan on standby for emergency orders. Chief Ruiz in position. Officers stationed at all exits." Mom arrived at 6:15 p.m., wearing the navy dress I'd bought her last Christmas. She looked elegant but fragile, like crystal about to shatter. I seated her myself, whispering, "Remember, whatever happens, don't intervene. Let the cameras see everything." The ceremony began at 7 p.m. sharp. I sat in the front row with other award recipients, my phone on silent but positioned to record audio. The host's opening jokes felt distant, muffled by my hyper-awareness of every entrance, every movement in my peripheral vision. At 7:28 p.m., he arrived. Bruce had dressed for intimidation. Black jacket, black shirt, projecting menace he thought was authority. The security shadow materialized immediately, maintaining a 10-foot buffer. Bruce spotted Mom first, then locked onto me with the focused hatred of a predator finding prey. He didn't take the seat I'd anticipated. Instead, he positioned himself at the back of the center aisle, standing despite Usher's requests to sit. Perfect. The wide-angle camera would catch everything. Sarah texted, "Is that him recording now?" James, "Got my angle covered." Mikhail, "Camera ready." At 7:41 p.m., the host announced the first break. "When we return, our Young Risk Manager of the Year award." During the commercial break, I made my final preparations. I loosened the concealer on my wrist, letting the bruise show through. I positioned my phone in my jacket pocket, recording app running. I signaled Marcus, who spoke quietly into his radio. The lights dimmed, came back up. The host's voice boomed, "Welcome back. Our next award recognizes excellence in financial risk management. Please welcome to the stage, from Northbridge Credit Union, Harper Lane." I rose slowly, deliberately, turning toward the audience before heading to the stage. That's when I saw Bruce pushing past seated guests, his face flushed with rage and bourbon. The Steadicam operator, following my path, naturally captured his approach. I climbed the 3 steps to the stage, accepted the award plaque, and stepped to the microphone. The broadcast cameras converged on me. I began my prepared remarks, voice steady. "Thank you for this honor. Risk management isn't just about numbers, it's about protecting what matters most. Sometimes that means making difficult choices." Bruce reached the stage edge. "That's my money that paid for your education, my house you're trying to steal." The audience gasped. Cameras swiveled. I turned toward him, angling my body at precisely 45 degrees optimal for camera 4 while keeping camera 2 in play. "Sir, please," the host began. Bruce hauled himself onto the stage with surprising agility for someone so drunk. I didn't step back. Running would negate everything. I stood perfectly still, plaque in my hands, as he crossed the 10 feet between us. "You ungrateful little bitch," he snarled, loud enough for the overhead mics to capture clearly. "After everything I've done." "Bruce, you're violating a restraining order," I said calmly, distinctly, "You need to leave." That's when he swung. The impact was harder than I'd anticipated. Bruce's open palm connected with my left cheek with enough force to snap my head sideways. The crack amplified by the podium microphone like a gunshot. The award plaque flew from my hands, clattering across the stage. My carefully loosened concealer meant nothing now this would leave its own mark. For a heartbeat, the theater held absolute silence. 700 people collectively frozen, processing what they'd just witnessed. The Steadicam operator, pure professional instinct, had tracked the entire motion. Camera 4 caught my face in profile as blood began trickling from where Bruce's ring had caught my lip. "You think you're so fucking smart!" Bruce grabbed the microphone, his voice booming through the sound system. "This bitch forged my signature to steal my house. She's been planning this." I touched my lip, looked at the blood on my fingers, then directly into camera 2. My voice stayed level, projecting without the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, this man has been notified of a restraining order. He is not supposed to be within 500 feet of me." Bruce lunged for me again, but this time the angle was perfect. Camera 4 caught him grabbing my wrist, the same one he'd bruised days before. I didn't resist, letting him yank me toward him so every camera could see the aggression. "Stop!" Mom's voice cut through the chaos. She was on her feet, something I'd never seen before. Elaine Sawyer standing tall, pointing at Bruce. "Don't you touch her again." Bruce released me, whirling toward her. "Shut your mouth, Elaine, or what?" Chief Ruiz's voice came from the stage stairs, where she'd materialized with 2 uniformed officers. "Please, Mr. Dalton, finish that threat. We're all listening." The audience had transformed into witnesses. Phone cameras lifted like salutes. Hundreds of additional angles capturing Bruce as he spun back to me, cornered and desperate. "This is a setup." He grabbed the podium, addressing the audience. "She planned this. The little cunt has been, the host killed his mic," but Bruce's voice still carried. Behind him, I could see the Channel 9 producer frantically gesturing, "Keep rolling. Keep everything rolling." I found my voice, projecting clearly. "Mr. Dalton, you're being recorded by 11 facility cameras and Channel 9's live broadcast. You've just committed assault in front of 700 witnesses." I pulled the folded TRO from my jacket pocket, holding it up. "Temporary Restraining Order Number 2024 DV 1847, signed by Judge Chen. Served to you 48 hours ago. You're in violation." Bruce's face went from red to purple. He charged at me again, but this time the officers were ready. They intercepted him 2 feet away, his hands already reaching for my throat. The struggle was brief, but violent. Bruce throwing elbows, cursing, spitting. Camera 4 captured him trying to bite Officer Ramirez's hand. "Bruce Dalton, you're under arrest for violation of a restraining order, assault, and resisting arrest," Chief Ruiz announced as the cuffs clicked. "You have the right to remain silent." "I'll burn that fucking house down," Bruce screamed, his voice cracking. "You hear me? I'll kill you both. That house is mine." The threats echoed in the silent theater. Every phone captured it. Channel 9's boom mic hovered overhead like a sword of Damocles. As they dragged him toward the exit, Bruce made one last attempt at control. "Elaine, tell them. Tell them how you begged me to take care of you after your pathetic husband died." Mom walked to the stage stairs with a dignity I'd never seen before. She climbed them slowly, crossed to me, and took the microphone the host offered. "My husband was twice the man you'll ever be," she said quietly, her voice carrying through the perfect acoustics. "And my daughter just proved she inherited his courage. Officers, he has gambling debts at 3 casinos and a forged HELOC loan at Northbridge Credit Union. Check his filing cabinet." The audience erupted in scattered applause as the officers removed Bruce. I stood there, blood still on my chin, watching my mother transform before my eyes. She pulled tissues from her purse, dabbing at my lip with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd cleaned too many wounds. "Mom, not yet," she whispered, Finish this properly. Kevin from Channel 9 approached cautiously. Ms. Lane, we're still live. Do you want to continue? I looked at the cameras, at the audience, at Whitaker already on his phone with Judge Brennan, at my 3 colleagues still recording everything. Then I walked back to the podium. I apologize for the disruption, I said, my split lip making me lisp slightly. As I was saying, risk management is about protecting what matters most. Sometimes that protection requires difficult choices and careful planning. Tonight, you've witnessed why documentation, legal preparation, and institutional support are crucial when dealing with financial abuse and domestic violence. I picked up my award plaque from where it had fallen, noting the new dent in its corner evidence of its own. To anyone watching who's trapped in a similar situation, document everything. Seek legal help. Don't confront your abuser alone. Do it with witnesses, with cameras, with law enforcement ready. I touched my swelling cheek. And sometimes, you have to let them show the world who they really are. The standing ovation started in the back, where Whitaker was already preparing emergency injunction papers on his laptop. It spread forward like a wave until even the Channel 9 crew was applauding. But I only watched Mom, still standing beside me, finally free from the weight of defending the indefensible. The host approached tentatively. Should we continue with the ceremony? Please do, I said. I believe the show must go on. As I left the stage, Sarah met me with an ice pack. That was either the bravest or craziest thing I've ever seen. In risk management, I replied, pressing ice to my cheek. We call it a calculated exposure. The Paramount Theater's green room became a makeshift war room. Whitaker had commandeered a corner table, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear while typing one-handed. Chief Ruiz stood beside him, coordinating with dispatch on her radio. The Channel 9 producer hovered nearby, practically vibrating with the adrenaline of unexpected breaking news. Judge Brennan will review the emergency motion now, Whitaker announced at 8:47 p.m. I'm uploading the video files directly to the court's secure server. 9 angles of assault, 11 if we count the backstage cameras. I held ice against my swelling cheek while Mom filled out witness statements with Officer Ramirez. Her handwriting was steady now, no longer the shaky script of a victim, but the firm strokes of someone reclaiming her narrative. The house, I said to Whitaker. We need to secure it tonight. Already in motion. Judge Brennan is issuing an emergency order for immediate execution. Chief, can your team meet us there in an hour? Ruiz nodded. Search warrant for the financial documents. Being signed now. Assault, terroristic threats, and violation of a protective order give us probable cause for evidence collection. Whitaker's fingers flew across the keyboard. The death threats he made burn the house down. Kill you both. That elevates this to felony intimidation. Kevin from Channel 9 approached hesitantly. Ms. Lane, our footage, it's evidence now. Legal wants to know about release protocols. Send copies to both email addresses on this card, Whitaker said, handing over his business card without looking up. Full unedited versions, all angles, including the pre-show and backstage material. At 9:12 p.m., Whitaker's phone buzzed. He read the message, then smiled a sharp, predatory expression. Emergency order granted. Full asset freeze. Immediate possession of the property for evidence preservation. And... He paused for effect. Authorization for forensic accounting audit of all financial records found on premises. We convoyed to Juniper Ridge 2 police cruisers, Whitaker's Mercedes, Mom and me in my Honda. The familiar street looked different under the rotating police lights, neighbors emerging onto porches like moths to flame. The house was dark. Bruce's Camaro sat crooked in the driveway, driver door ajar, keys still in the ignition. He'd never expected to need them again tonight. We go in first, Chief Ruiz said, adjusting her vest. Secure the premises, then you can supervise evidence collection. They entered with practiced efficiency, clearing each room while we waited on the lawn. Mrs. Henderson from next door approached in her robe and slippers. Harper, honey, we saw everything on the news. Channel 9 broke into regular programming. She squeezed my hand. About time someone stopped that man. Within 15 minutes, Ruiz gave us the all clear. The house reeked of bourbon and stale cigarettes, but underneath lay something else, the musk of desperation, of schemes collapsing. Bruce's office was a goldmine of self-incrimination. Officers cataloged and photographed everything: the forged signature practice sheets, gambling receipts, loan shark contacts, pawn tickets for family heirlooms. In the bottom drawer, wrapped in plastic, they found the HELOC documents with my forged signature. "Look at this," Officer Ramirez said, holding up a notebook. He kept a journal of his plans, dates, amounts, even notes about when you'd be traveling for work. I photographed the pages with my phone while an officer bagged the original. Bruce had documented his own crimes with the thoroughness of someone who never expected consequences. At 10:28 p.m., Whitaker's phone rang. He listened, then put it on speaker. "Mr. Whitaker, this is ADA Jennifer Park from the District Attorney's Office. We've reviewed the initial evidence. We're filing charges for assault in the second degree, felony identity theft, mortgage fraud, and criminal intimidation. Bail hearing is set for tomorrow at 9 a.m. What about the HELOC?" I asked. "Northbridge Credit Union will need to file separately, but with this evidence, they'll reverse the fraudulent loan immediately. The forged documents alone are enough." In the master bedroom, Mom was packing methodically, not frantically like before, but with purpose. She folded each item precisely, reclaiming space Bruce had contaminated with his presence. 27 years in this house," she said softly. "Your father and I bought it when you were 2. I let Bruce poison every room, every memory. We'll clean it," I said. "Reclaim it properly." Chief Ruiz appeared in the doorway. "We found something else. A storage unit key with rental documents. Unit paid for with cash, but the timestamp on the contract matches a large withdrawal from the HELOC." "Can we access it tonight?" Whitaker asked. With the judge's expanded order, "Yes. Want to see what he was hiding." The storage unit in Aurora contained the ghost of our former life. Dad's tools, carefully tagged with pawnshop estimates. Photo albums Mom thought were lost. My grandmother's china, boxed and labeled for sale. Bruce had been systematically erasing us while plotting to steal everything. "Photograph everything," Whitaker instructed. "This shows pattern behavior, premeditation." At 11:56 p.m., we returned to the house. Neighbors had left porch lights on in solidarity. Mrs. Henderson had taped a note to our door. "Welcome home, ladies." Whitaker pulled up the emergency filing on his tablet. Judge Brennan added something. "Look." The order's final paragraph read, "Given the evidence of systematic financial abuse, identity theft, and premeditated asset misappropriation, the court grants immediate and exclusive possession of 1310 Juniper Ridge to Harper Lane and Elaine Sawyer. Mr. Dalton is permanently barred from the premises, with violations punishable by immediate incarceration." Mom sat on the porch steps, looking at the stars. "I signed those separation papers this morning. Think I should upgrade to divorce." "I think," Whitaker said, closing his laptop, "that after tonight's performance, no divorce attorney in Colorado would take his case, and every one of them would take yours pro bono just for the publicity." My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin at Channel 9. 11 o'clock news got a 47 share. Highest rated broadcast this year. The clip's already viral. 3 million views and climbing. I showed Mom the message. She laughed, actually laughed for the first time in years. 3 million people just watched Bruce Dalton destroy himself, she said. That's almost poetic. It's not poetry, I corrected, pulling the TRO from my pocket, now creased and blood-spotted. It's documentation. The Jefferson County Courthouse at 9 a.m. felt like theater's second act. Bruce shuffled in wearing orange jail scrubs, wrists shackled, the swagger completely drained from his frame. His public defender, a tired-looking woman named Patricia Moss, whispered urgently in his ear while he stared at the defense table. Judge Margaret Brennan presided with the gravity of someone who'd seen too many domestic violence cases end badly. She reviewed the charges while Bruce's hands trembled not from withdrawal yet, but from the reality finally penetrating his bourbon-soaked delusions. Mr. Dalton, you're charged with assault in the second degree, identity theft, mortgage fraud, criminal intimidation, and violation of a protective order. How do you plead? Patricia Moss stood. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty and requests reasonable bail. I'd like to present evidence regarding bail considerations. Ada Park interrupted. She connected her laptop to the courtroom display. This is footage from 9 different angles showing the defendant's assault. The courtroom watched Bruce strike me on the massive screen. The crack echoed through the speakers. Several people in the gallery gasped. The judge's expression hardened as Bruce's recorded voice screamed about burning the house down. Killing us both! Additionally, Park continued, we have documentary evidence of systematic fraud spanning 18 months. She displayed the signature practice sheets. The defendant kept detailed records of his criminal activities. Whitaker stood from the prosecution's bench. Your Honor, if I may, Northbridge Credit Union has confirmed the HELOC was obtained through forgery. They're prepared to testify that Ms. Lane's signature was falsified on multiple documents totaling $47,000 in fraudulent loans. Judge Brennan removed her glasses, rubbing her temples. Ms. Moss, does your client have anything to say regarding bail? Bruce jumped up, chains rattling. This is a setup. That bitch planned everything. Mr. Dalton, sit down and be quiet or I'll hold you in contempt. The judge's voice could have frozen fire. She turned back to the ADA. What does the state recommend? Remand without bail. Your Honor, the defendant made specific threats of arson and murder before 700 witnesses. He has documented gambling debts to questionable individuals, no stable residence since he's barred from the family home, and demonstrated violent tendencies when confronted with accountability. The judge nodded. Bail is denied. Mr. Dalton will remain in custody pending trial. Ms. Moss, I strongly suggest you discuss a plea arrangement with your client. As they led Bruce away, he turned to glare at me. But there was something broken in his eyes now, the recognition that every camera, every witness, every document had built a cage he'd never escape. In the hallway, Patricia Moss approached us. Ms. Lane, my client might be willing to plead guilty in exchange for no deals on the assault, I said flatly. That's on video. The fraud charges are negotiable if he provides full accounting of what he sold and to whom. We want our family belongings back. She nodded, looking relieved. I'll discuss it with him. 3 hours later, at the bank, my supervisor, Richard, pulled up the HELOC account. With the court orders and evidence of forgery, we're reversing all fraudulent transactions. Your credit will be restored within 7 to 10 business days. And the house, the lien is removed. The original mortgage remains in place with you and your mother as sole parties. He printed the confirmation. Ms. Lane, I've been in banking 30 years. This is the most thoroughly documented fraud case I've ever seen. You built an airtight case. Mom was waiting in my apartment when I returned, surrounded by boxes from the storage unit. She'd been sorting through photo albums Bruce had marked for destruction. Her finger traced a picture of Dad teaching me to ride a bike. He kept everything that mattered, she said, hidden away, but not destroyed, like he couldn't quite bring himself to erase us completely. Sociopaths often keep trophies, I said, sitting beside her, but we got them back. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing all morning. Interview requests from national news outlets, messages from other abuse survivors, notifications that the video had passed 10 million views. I turned it face down. What happens now? Mom asked. Now we clean the house, change the locks, maybe paint the walls. You go back to work without fear. I go back to analyzing risk without living in it. She pulled out the divorce papers, already signed and notarized. 24-hour waiting period in Colorado. By tomorrow afternoon, I'll be legally free. That evening, we returned to Juniper Ridge with cleaning supplies and paint samples. The neighbors had organized Mrs. Henderson directed traffic as people arrived with casseroles, tools, offers to help restore what Bruce had damaged. The house filled with laughter for the first time in years. At 11:30 p.m., after everyone had left, Mom and I stood in the living room. The furniture was rearranged, Bruce's possessions boxed for donation, family photos restored to the mantel. It looked like home again. "You know what the best part is?" Mom asked, holding Dad's picture. "We have it all on video, 9 angles, 11 if you count backstage." She smiled. "He can never claim it didn't happen, never gaslight anyone about it, never twist the narrative. The truth exists in high definition." My phone lit up with a text from Whitaker. "Plea deal accepted. 18 months minimum security, full restitution, permanent restraining order. He'll be registered as a financial predator, can never hold power of attorney or access anyone else's financial accounts." I showed Mom the message. She read it twice, then walked to the window where Bruce used to stand and watch the street with paranoid vigilance. 18 months isn't much," she said. "No, but the real sentence is everything else. No one will hire him. No one will trust him. No woman will date him without Googling his name and finding that video. He'll spend the rest of his life being exactly what he always was, alone with his rage." She nodded slowly. "You planned for that too, didn't you? The viral video wasn't just evidence, it was a life sentence." I pulled up the video on my phone not to watch, but to show her the comment count. Over 100,000 people sharing their own stories, finding courage in our calculated confrontation. "I didn't plan for this part," I admitted, "for it to matter to so many people." Mom hugged me then, fierce and protective like she should have been years ago. "Your father would be proud. You didn't just save the house, you saved us." I looked around the reclaimed space, at the indent in the wall where tomorrow we'd hang new pictures, at the future we'd almost lost to bourbon and betting slips. "I just did what I do best," I said. "Managed the risk." Standing in our kitchen at midnight, Mom made coffee while I reviewed the final documentation. Every receipt filed, every video backed up, every legal document secured in triplicate. Bruce thought he'd stolen our home. Instead, he'd given us the evidence to take it back. I pulled out my phone and posted one final update. To everyone asking, yes, we're safe. Yes, we're home. And yes, documentation really is everything. The responses poured in immediately. Other survivors, other daughters, other families trapped by their own versions of Bruce. Each one learning what I'd proven in front of 9 cameras. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a court order and irrefutable evidence. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Please share in the comments below so we can connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more real-life stories like this one. What would you have done in my situation? Share your thoughts, I read every comment.